This is WPSL Port St. Lucie, the talk of the Treasure Coast.
Today.
The views expressed on the following program are not necessarily those of WPSL. However, you're encouraged to like and share them on Facebook. Not just preaching to the choir. Our resident moderate is here, taking your calls, commenting on some issues he's going to list for you, and he expects a pretty good show tonight. Here's the host of the African American Scene, brought to you by Howard Insurance, Rudy Howard.
Good evening, good evening, good evening. Always glad to be with you here on a Wednesday night. I know I've kind of let you down. I missed 2 Wednesdays in a row. You know, in 8 years, I don't think I've ever missed 2 Wednesdays in a row. One I missed because of the basketball game, and one I missed because I fell and I injured myself.
I see you got a walker.
I know it, yeah. When you get to be my age, you can't be falling.
No.
This fall, when I was 20, I'd have been 2 days, then I'd have been ready to go back out on the basketball court and play some hoops. But it doesn't work that way now. Let me tell you, while I was out, and I'll let him keep his name unless he wants to call in and confess. He came to my office and he sat down with me. And he wanted to talk politics with me, and I said, okay. And so he began to tell me how he was trying to move my thinking, and I was telling him how he wasn't getting it done because he's got to talk facts. And one of the issues that came up, which to me is one of the crazy ones that's out there, he said, nobody knows President Obama. And I go, that is like one of those bizarre things and that is a Cliff. Let me tell you something.
We had him for president for 8 years. We all know President Obama.
The talking point the Republicans have out there, and there's another guy listening who strongly believes this, nobody knew who he was in college. Well, I did a fact check, and of course, that was completely debunked. Not to mention the fact that he went to Columbia, where there's about 20,000 students, and he went to Occidental College before he went to Columbia. So he didn't go to Columbia until he was a junior. And then it appears from what I have read that he lived off campus. And I lived off campus my last year of college. And when you're living off campus, you're not part of like the campus life. You go on to school, but you're really not a part of the campus life. So it's very easy for you to go to class and come home. But anyway, and then the issue, really, I said, is there any doubt in your mind that he graduated magna cum laude? You think that was made up? Well, maybe not.
There has to be a certificate somewhere.
Right. I said, he was president of the Harvard Law Review. If not the best law school in the world, one of the best law schools in the world, do you think you can become president of the Harvard Law Review and be a mediocre student? No chance. So when I said that to him, he kind of sat back in his chair, and I could see his mind spinning. All of a sudden, what he was saying really didn't make any sense. Because you couldn't be the president of the Harvard Law Review when you were a mediocre student. He had offers from every major law firm in the country. They were clamoring to get him to come work for them. But he chose instead to be a community organizer, which he gets roundly criticized for, as opposed to accepting the fact that he had a commitment to want to help people. So, okay, but why do I tell you that? That's the very essence of why we are where we are today. And I am very, very sad at the situation we are in today because there's like friendships breaking up, families being separated because of the political discussions and non-discussions taking place. And the biggest part of the problem is facts just don't matter. It is your tribe says it, then you have to stick with your tribe. Now, he left me a letter today, and I've read through it, and I'm going to highlight a couple points here. One of the things he tells me is Hillary lost because of her character and James Comey, and those are the only two reasons that she lost. Well, the 6 Benghazi hearings that went on for more than a year, 12 hours of testimony savagely attacking her character. You think that had nothing to do with it? I can tell you for sure from other Democrats that I know, by the end, when it was time to vote for her, they had done so much damage, they were completely unsure of who she was. Even though she had a miles deep track record, they had savaged her character and caused great consternation about the person that she is. So he conveniently forgot to mention that part. So the Benghazi hearings that went on and on, and here's the most important thing. Most of them were conducted by Republicans, and they found nothing wrong. There was no convictions, no indictments, no nothing. They found nothing wrong. Now, what the conservatives tell me is she got away with it. Well, what the hell did she get away with? It was conducted by conservatives. So if she did something wrong, are you trying to tell me they wouldn't have taken her and tried to get a conviction? But you see, that lopsided view of how to view things is problematic. Here's another issue that he raises about the Kavanaugh hearings. And I'm going to speak about this from my own perspective. His point is that the opinion of expressions overcame the truth that Kavanaugh was speaking. Well, let me just say this to you. That's not where I'm at. Where I was at was maybe he didn't do it. Maybe it was so long ago that it maybe shouldn't have mattered. But my problem was they short-circuited the investigation. They did not allow the investigation to continue the way it was. And there were people, look it up, don't believe me, there were people that were ready to testify when they gave that brief window of like 72 hours for the FBI to do some follow-up. There were people out there ready to testify that never got a chance to testify. That was my problem with the Kavanaugh. Not that he was guilty. It was I was disgusted with the fact that they did not allow for the complete investigation in light of the fact that this lady steps forward and offers herself up as a character person regarding who he is. And I will reserve my opinion about whether or not I think he did it or not, because my opinion is not relevant because we didn't get all of the facts. And one final thing, he talked about some other things in here about the Constitution impeachment, and I'm going to give you guys a chance. I know after 2 weeks you guys are dying to get to me. He said that Democrats accuse the founding fathers of being racist. Surprise. Surprise, surprise, surprise. Most of the founding fathers were racist and pedophiles. How you like that? They were not only racist, they were pedophiles. They had relationship with slave girls that were 13, 14 years old. Okay? That's the facts. That's reality. Okay? Now, that time is what it was, and that may have been acceptable at that time, but that behavior still is not excusable. If you was a pedophile in the 1800s and you're a pedophile in the 2019s, you're still a pedophile. Okay, so I got that settled. So he may want to call up and dispute some of that, and he's welcome to do so. But the fact of the matter is that I told you 2 years ago this president was going to be impeached. My timing was off, I'll admit, but he's going to be impeached. He may not be removed from office, but he's going to be impeached. And those Republicans that choose not to remove him from office are going to be accountable to their constituents. Some of them will not find that acceptable. And my question to you is simply this, the question everybody asks. If he was asking Ukraine for information on Joe Biden and Hunter Biden, was that acceptable to you? Was that an issue that required impeachment? So I'm looking forward to hearing what you have to say. Now, after 2 weeks, I thought you'd be jumping at the bit. I didn't even prepare too much of anything because I figured after 2 weeks you'd be raring to go, call up and want to jump on my case about everything that's going on. And Lord knows there's a lot going on. And but Winnie, I told you he was going to be impeached. And Carlos, your boy, is going down. He's going down. He may not get removed from office, but he is going to be impeached. And I'm going to tell you, in my humble opinion, rightfully so. This president makes me cringe and almost makes me ashamed to be an American. He called the premier law enforcement agency in our country and in the world, the FBI, scum at a rally last night. He called them scum. Can you believe he called the FBI scum? That's just so beyond the pale. It's hard for me to even fathom that he could put those words in his mouth. Winnie, how are you?
How you doing? Pretty good, pretty good. Yeah, you're right. You're right about your statement. Prediction about the dollar. Yeah, you go get impeach and everything and stuff like that here. But still, he may not get removed from office like Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton got impeached, he didn't get removed from office. And I think the dollar is going to run again.
I think so.
He might run again.
I think so. I think he is. I think he is going to run again. And I agree with you. I don't think that he is going.
Yeah.
I don't think he's going to get removed from office. He's going to get impeached, but I don't think he's going to get removed
Yeah.
from office.
Oh, yeah, Joe. Yeah, but you say something about that other guy. He a billionaire too, right? The other guy, Goober. He got that funny man. He a billionaire like the Donner, ain't it?
Yeah, Michael
So you think you might go somewhere with it, or?
I don't know.
You might.
He's kind of late getting in the race, but I saw.
Yeah, he jumped in the hat late. Yeah.
Yeah, but I saw.
But Joe Biden, they say he ahead, and Joe Biden, Elizabeth Warren, she talked Medicare for all, so that sounds good. They got to say something really, really good for me to really vote for them. I like to hear what they're gonna do for the people. I know, but Elizabeth Warren, she sounds good when she said Medicare for all. Something really, really, what they gonna do? Joe Biden, not yet. He didn't say what really he gonna do for the people, like Medicare for all, free college tuition, some kind of plan. Have some kind of plan, like Barack, when he first run, he said that time for a change, time for a change. He said some good stuff. When he first won, I sure voted for him. I was boosting other people. Let's go. Vote for Barack. He said some good things. But Joe Biden and the rest of them, they got to say something good. The only reason why I voted for the dollar, because he said, I want to make America great again. That's the only reason why I had voted for him during that time frame. But Joe Biden, he makes some kind of plan, say something.
What do you want?
That's for me to vote for you.
What would a candidate have to say to get your vote? What would you like to hear him say?
Elizabeth Warren, she kind of tipped my head a little song, say Medicare for all. She said bad, so I like that. But it got me saying something else. What about intuition for the people that go on the car for free or something? Something got me, say something that really for me to get my vote. I'm not saying everybody differently. I tell people to vote. I can't tell them vote. I don't care who you vote for. Vote anyway and stuff like this here. But we'll be talking. Have a good night.
Okay, thank you. Well, one of the things, and Greg sent it to me today, and I can't think of the name of the school, but one of the schools recently said that if the family makes $65,000 a year or less, tuition will be free. Now, that's maybe about the fifth or sixth school that's done that. And you know what that is? That's a byproduct of public pressure. The public pressure that has been on businesses and colleges to not be so close-handed with the money. Like if you recall on 60 Minutes a few weeks ago, NYU announced all medical school students are going to go tuition free. Now, there's some of you that really have a problem with that, and I don't know why. My kids, if my son was of that age now, which he's now 27, I wouldn't be eligible to get the kind of relief that a lot of people are going to get, but I don't have any objection to that. I want other people's kids to be successful, because if they're successful, they're not on the dole. They're not on SNAP. They're not trying to be on Section 8. They can go out and make a living and make some money and be productive citizens and pay taxes. I don't know. I don't understand why you wouldn't want to do that. Now, everybody's not college material. We get that. But what I will tell you is this. I have learned, and something I didn't understand until I was an adult, well into my adult years. There really isn't much that you can accomplish as far as subject matter is concerned if you're willing to put in the time. Now, you may not be as smart as Joe Smith, who's sitting next to you, but if you're willing to put in the time, you can make it through school and make it through that subject. There's a person who's a good friend of mine, and I will leave that name out, told me that they lived in the library. Her friends used to have to come drag her out of the library to go to a party on a Saturday night. But guess what? She's very successful now. I went to school with a guy. He was not the smartest one among us, but if you ever wanted to know where he was in the library. And he's a college professor today, a very successful college professor. And he studied, and he wasn't as smart as the rest of us, but he spent his time in the library studying and making sure he understood the material, and he's now a very successful guy. And I really didn't get that for a long time because there were things, I will just share this with you, when by the time I graduated from school and I started in the insurance business, I thought business stuff was just too hard and I couldn't do it. And I'll never forget, I challenged myself. I took an accounting course at Quinn Sigmund Community College in Worcester, Massachusetts. That's the real name of a school, Quinn Sigmund Community College. And I took a basic accounting course, and I got an A. And I thought to myself, what was I afraid of? But, I was 22. And I thought that was just beyond my capabilities. So, and there's lots of kids like that. If you remember a few years ago, I had a couple of doctors on here. I had a doctor and his daughter on here who both have practices here in Fort Pierce. And they were talking about the need to have more minority doctors. And I said, well, what is the biggest prohibition? He said, they don't think they can do it. He said, it's that simple. There's plenty of minority kids that could be doctors. They don't think they can do it. They don't even try. They think it's too hard. And I've thought about that a million times since I had him on, and that must have been seven years ago or so. And he's so right. You have to make a sacrifice if you want to be a doctor. You're not going to be out doing the boogie on Friday nights every Friday night. You're going to be doing some studying, but it's possible. It's real. It's doable. But in any event, so what I'm looking for you, talk to me. What's eating at you right now? Does this current political climate trouble you as much as it troubles me? I am exceedingly frustrated that we can't come together better in terms of trying to understand each other. The key is we don't have to always agree. That's ridiculous because people are individuals. But we have to be able to have an intelligent argument. And like I said, if you're going to tell me that President Obama was not born in the United States, you've just lost me. We're not going to have an intelligent conversation because I'm going to think you're a moron for making that statement because we know that it's completely untrue. There's no evidence. First of all, those that made that up, there was not one shred of evidence that makes that a possibility. Not even one. Even if there was one shred of evidence that one could offer up, then I would say, okay, at least you got a reason for why you thought that. But there's not a one. Not one. So there we go down that rabbit hole of dissension and disagreement instead of having a dialogue and discussion. Because here's the thing, and I've said this more times on the show than I care to think about. America is at its very best, when you can synthesize the ideas of the right and the left, because neither side has all the answers. But you have to be able to talk to each other enough to be able to sit in the room to come up with a solution. Not try to damage it because it was your idea first and not my idea, which is where we are with the ACA. They're trying to destroy the ACA because it was a Democratic idea and not a Republican idea. Instead of fixing it, it could be fixed in 15 minutes with some reasonably intelligent people in the room that are committed to trying to come up with a compromise. And I'm telling you, honest to God, maybe an hour. But it could be fixed that quickly if there was the will to do that. But you can't, because the Republicans can never accept the fact that the Democrats were able to put in universal health care. And they lied about it so much, and people hated it in the beginning. And now it's like a 70% approval rate for the Affordable Care Act. Because once the lies went away and people were able to determine that it was a thing of value, people wanted it. So what do you want? What do you want? What do you want from your next president? Can I get you to tell me that? What attributes do you think are important for a president? What attributes? Now, the criticism of Obama, and I get it, was Obama was not very demonstrative. So he didn't give you the sense of good feeling that he was tough and on top of things. That's just not who he is or who he was. He does things, and he did many things, and I heard many people say he never took the credit for all the things that he really did. So as a consequence, some people tend to think he was soft. And but tell me, what do you think? To me, I think as my president, I want you to have dignity. I want you to be respected. I want people, when they see you, that they look up to you, and that when you speak, they will listen, as it has been in the past. Now, I'm sorry, and I know I'm going to hurt some people's feelings, but they don't even know whether what he's saying is true or not. He lies so much, they don't know whether he says it's true or not. And now, just here's another thing. This is from a decorum point of view. Why would you meet with the finance minister of Russia when you're the president of the United States? There's an imbalance there. You don't meet with Lavrov. If Putin's not coming to meet you, that's insulting. He sends Lavrov to meet you, and he doesn't meet you himself. Why? Why would you do that? Because you fly off the hip. You do what you think is the right thing to do at the moment without giving it a thought through. But I want my president to be the guy that when he walks in the room, he don't have to push people aside, people step aside because he's walking in the room and he's held in such high esteem and respect. That's what I want. I know, and I'm not naive enough to believe that they all tell you the truth all the time. No, they don't, because sometimes they can't even tell you the truth because it might be a very secret thing. But I want somebody that I know I can believe in, that when they tell me something, for the most part, I know that's the way it is. I want that. I want to know, and this was one of the reasons that I felt so good about Obama when I voted for him. I want to know that if you are the guy that has the ability to push the button, that you will be thoughtful and you will carefully think out the consequences of that decision. Those are the things I want to see in a president. That's important to me. You know, bravado, you don't have to have, you don't have to be beaten on your chest. Angela Merkel doesn't go beat on her chest, and she's a very well-respected leader of the world from Germany. You don't have to do that. You know, you don't have to tell people every 15 minutes how wonderful you are. That's not necessary. People will know how wonderful you are. You know, he keeps getting voted one of the most influential people in the world, Obama and Michelle Obama. Why? Not because they tell people they're wonderful, because people's perception is that they're wonderful. Now, you can say they're not, and that's okay, that's your opinion, but just imagine that's the perception of the world. So if that's the world's perception of him, isn't that a good perception for us as a country? I think so. I think the little snickering group that took place in London, that was embarrassing. The laughter at him when he was at the UN telling what a wonderful president he was, that was embarrassing. So I would just tell you that that's what I think of as important for president. And I welcome your thoughts on what you think are an important elements of presidential leadership. I really do. I would love to hear what you think about that. What your thoughts are about presidential leadership. So I think we got a call here. And we have Sean. Sean, how are you?
Hello?
Yes, how are you, sir?
I'm having trouble hearing you. I'm sorry.
Okay, turn your radio down.
Might have to call back.
Can you hear him now?
Can you hear me?
Everything's going into the phone. The phone's...
Everything's going good. I can hear you.
How is your phone lightweight and plastic, or is it a cell phone? Well, he can't
Did
hear
we
us.
lose him?
No, he's still there.
He must have his radio up too loud.
We don't even have the delay on.
Yeah, you got your radio up too loud. That's why you can't hear me.
No, if he had his radio up, he'd hear us. Maybe just this once. Turn your radio up just enough so you can hear us. I'll bet you that. He can't hear us. Okay.
Hello?
Hello?
Yeah, we're here.
Yes.
I don't know why he can't hear us.
Call us back, Sean.
Yeah.
Maybe we just got a bad line. Just call us
Let
right
me
back.
just let
Let
him
me
know.
call back.
Okay.
He call back. If he can't hear us,
Yeah.
he's not going to hear us when he calls back either.
Well, no, it could have been just a bad
Maybe it's a
line.
bad line. Yeah, it could be.
A bad line, yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Sean's going to call back. There it is. That's Sean. Yeah. So, anyway, with all that's going on, I'm surprised that this phone is not ringing off the hook with people wanting to make their statement about what's going on, because we're looking at history here. We're going to have the fourth president in the history of our country to be impeached. Wow, that's big stuff. That we're going to have another president impeached, and you must have some feelings about that one, with either pro or con. And whatever your feelings are, I would just love to hear from you. If you think it's right, you think it's wrong, you think it's overdone to impeach him based on the information that we have. So, okay. Sean?
All right, Sean.
Can you hear us?
I'm here. Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah,
On the
okay,
phone,
Sean.
on the radio, yeah.
Yeah, how you doing, Sean?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
Good, good.
You know, I've talked with you before, and it bothers me that we pick sides so much,
Okay,
because you can pick apart any president.
okay.
And I believe you're right in as much as people with the birther stupid episode that went on with President Obama. But it bothers me just as much to have you tell me what a great leader he was when I know he sat right with Putin and said on record that let me get elected and I can make you a better deal.
Yes, I remember that, yes.
That to me was collusion with a foreign leader in a slight sense. All right. So when you look at any politician, you can either pick them apart to the bones or you can support them totally. I actually sat and had a conversation with an intelligent woman that I thought was intelligent until she turned around and referred to our current president as the orange one instead of President Trump. And I said, you know, I went 8 years and I didn't refer to our last president other than anything except for President Obama, even when I disagreed with him. And I try to stop people from taking sides rather than stating facts or supporting their opinions, at least with some facts.
I respect that, Sean.
I would really like to see the political conversation going that direction.
Me too.
So
Me
if
too.
we can stop looking at necessarily the person's demeanor and everything that goes on, and look at what is being accomplished for the average person. You know, you and I could sit down tomorrow. I would be happy to have dinner with you. We could sit down and discuss what the pros and cons of the American Health Care Act were and are.
Yeah.
I know personally it affected me that my insurance went double
Yes.
what it cost me. And I would love to hear what the pros are for me, from you, with the American Health Care Act being available.
Okay.
And I've heard nurses, doctors, and I work in a field that is very connected to the medical field. Some of them complain a lot, and some of them are very pro. So that's the discussion to have, not whether President Obama was a great president or not. It's what the results were of the policies that got passed by his agenda.
Okay.
I mean, are we in agreement of that?
For the most part.
The blanket approval of President Trump by ultra-conservatives on the right bothers me just as much as the blanket approval of Democrats on the left, the far left, and nobody comes together for a common cause.
Well, Sean, that's possible, and I talked about that early on. You must not have heard me. It's possible that you can do that, but you have to start from a fact base. If you can start, I used to negotiate in my early years when I was in claims coming in up in the insurance business. I negotiated casualty claims. So when I was sitting across the table from an attorney, and we were trying to come up with a number that made him happy and me happy, we had to start somewhere. And the first place you started with was the facts. Okay, your client made a left-hand turn. So they are responsible for the accident. So now let's evaluate the injury. But you start there, okay? Now we have a basis, we have a foundation in which to have a discussion. But if we start with a foundation that's full of conspiracies of stuff that ain't real, the only thing you do is get the other side pissed off and frustrated. So you can't.
That's exactly right.
You can't get anywhere.
You're exactly talking about the political environment that is with us today.
Yes.
All right. When you talk about President Trump, for instance, less and less is about substance and fact than about just being pissed off, excuse my language, than being mad about the demeanor that it is presented.
Yeah.
Am I correct? And the same thing happens on the left. How many people tear down Nancy Pelosi, who we must assume is an intelligent woman, based on demeanor rather than fact? So my process in a political discussion with anybody is, as soon as they make a statement, I say, what do you base that on? And if they can't base it on anything, then the conversation has to be over, because they're not going to present me with anything that's going to change any way I feel. And I love to learn.
Oh,
I had
Sean, I love it.
I knew for 2 years once tell me that President Obama was the best president we ever had. And I said, better than George Washington, better than Abraham Lincoln, better than Thomas Jefferson. In other words, what are you comparing it to? And the question shocked them, because they were comparing it to their lifetime, you see, rather than the real question, which was really the best president we ever had. All right, maybe the best president out of the last 5. You can say that to me and support it, but you can't support stupid statements to me.
I'm with you all the way there. You ain't said
I had a
anything.
conversation with a guy I knew for 5 years, and we talked about health care. And he told me right off the bat, and all I said was, America can afford free health care, not free health care, of course, because it's paid by somebody, but America can afford health care for everybody if we stop wasting money everywhere else. And he said, you've been watching too much Fox News. What he didn't know was I hadn't watched Fox News in 2 years, and I didn't even have cable TV at the time, because I just got rid of it.
Sean,
but that was his assumption.
Sean, I'm going to have to let you go, because I got another caller, Julie, waiting
all right,
online.
that's fine.
Thank you, Sean.
We're going to talk again, though.
Yes, please do.
You and I are going to go have dinner some night. We're going to have a really good conversation.
I would like that. I'm going to hold you to that. Okay.
All right, I'll talk to you next week, Rudy.
Okay. Julie.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
You can hear me?
Can you hear us?
Yes, we can hear you.
I can hear you. I couldn't hear the other caller. I could only hear Rudy.
Right.
talking,
When you're on hold, you're only going to hear what's being fed through the audition channel. I know that's a lot of information, but
oh, okay. Well, anyhow, first time caller.
Okay.
And I don't know. Sometimes I don't make it through your whole show because you're so irritating.
He's doing his job. It's
I
worth
got
it.
to say, I appreciate the fact that you let people speak their opinion. Sometimes you lose your cool with them, but I do appreciate that. Most of the time I disagree with you, but I try to keep an open mind and listen.
Okay.
I think it's ridiculous to keep harping on what Obama, if he was born here, not here, whatever. He already was president. Let's move. Let's look ahead. Let's not look behind.
Okay.
I liked Obama. I mean, right, wrong, or indifferent. Now we got Trump. And the thing I liked most that made me call you is the thing you said was that we need to respect the president. And unfortunately, we've lost that respect for, I think, the presidency, let alone the president. And you can take that back to when Obama was president. I don't think he got the respect that he certainly should have had and warranted. Mm-hmm. And probably back to the Bush time. I don't know, maybe Clinton. I'm not exactly sure where the turn came about, but we certainly don't respect him. That you have commentators calling him idiot and stupid and a fraud and liars, and I just don't appreciate that. I think sometimes that all that negativity really doesn't gain us anything, and I think they do it for ratings, if nothing else. The more sensational and the more negativity and the more, you're going to watch a car accident, you're not going to watch people getting along. So they have their own agenda as far as that goes.
Okay.
But the thing that turned me around with you overall and to continue listening to you on the program is you made a comment about Walmart one time. And you said, you were talking about wages. And normally I just think, what is with this guy all the time? My God. And then you said this about Walmart, that, Walmart really is feeding into the problem. They get all these subsidies and everything else, and they keep the wages low. And, yeah, it's their business, but no, it really isn't, because it causes undue stress on the whole country because of that. And I'm not saying as eloquently as you did at the time. But so much so, I thought, wow, he's really right. I never really thought of it. I always think of, they can pay you whatever they want to, work there or don't work there. But when you have a limited ability to get a job based on education or anything else, and that's your choice, then, it really does contribute to overall. And I think maybe some intervention needs to be in. I'm surprised to say it. I agree with you, but yes, I did.
Well, listen, I'm just very glad that I made you think. And that's because you know what, Julie, it is never my mission to have all of my listeners agree with me. It is my mission to have my listeners think. And I try to give them a point of view that they hadn't considered. And if I can do that and they think about that point of view and it makes sense to them, I feel like I've done my job.
Well, I appreciated when you were talking about, I don't know if it was Black History Month, but you were talking about the people that would travel and there would be like a secret book or whatever.
Yeah, the Green Book. Yes, right.
Yeah, I never heard of that before, and I thought that was very interesting. But I do have to tap your finger on the fact that when you said you called President Trump like your boy to whoever one of your must be your regular callers, say, oh, and now your boy's not going to make it through this. That I didn't appreciate. I just want to tell you that.
Okay. All right.
So let's go with your overall concept, and let's get the respect back into the office as it needs to be, regardless of who's in it. Let's get that back going, that direction.
Okay.
And thank you very much. I will continue to listen to you, but honestly, you aggravate the heck out of me.
Talk radio.
Yes.
Okay,
and you have
Julie.
a good night.
Thank you, Julie. Thank you for calling.
All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right, bye. Wow. Now, Rudy, that was a very, very, very interesting call.
Yeah, it was. Yes.
Well, I got to warn the folks out there that like to call and yell at you that watch out, because one of these days you're going to find yourself actually thinking after listening to Rudy's show. And when that happens, you're going to have to answer to yourself.
Yeah.
You're going to think. Yeah.
Well, she got out of that exactly what I wanted to get out of when I was talking about Walmart. That's very, very good, and I was glad I was able to touch her. And I'm so glad she called. I always enjoy women calling. You know, Carol used to call, but Carol and I had a fallout over the aid, the money paid back to Iran for the purchase that didn't go through. Well, you got give him one.
2.5 minutes left in the show. You want me to
Okay,
get
yeah,
this?
give him a chance, give him a crack. Yeah, but I always enjoy having I always enjoy having women call up because most of the time it's just the guys, and we have Winnie who calls me religiously
And disagrees.
Yes, yes, yes. She was a strong Trump supporter, although she's starting to wane a little bit now, but she was a strong Trump supporter. But anyway, I would like to say I am so glad to be back here. I missed you for 2 weeks. One due to injury and one because of IRSC basketball. And I'm coming along. I'm about probably 50%. And I will be back in the saddle, but I'll be back here again next Wednesday for sure.
Oh, yeah.
And we'll be able to talk about how that impeachment vote went. And I'll be gathering up some other information. I had some other stuff that I had planned for the week before.
The football player that was a Secret Santa at the Fort Pierce Walmart paid off everybody's layaway.
Oh, yeah, he's from Westwood.
No, yeah, was it his grandfather or his father maybe or his grandfather that was a 1976 Fort Pierce Central Cobra?
I don't know.
Mackey, we called it.
Yeah, Carl Mackey.
Yeah.
Trevor played against him, and I asked him, what was it like playing against him? He said, Dad, I just tried to hold on for dear life when I was playing against him. But, yeah, another thing, I'm sorry I didn't get to you to the end of the show. If you recall, my pastor, Vernon Shazier, they did a wonderful article on him in Sports Illustrated, and he talks about his faith after what happened with his son. See if you can get your hands on that, on Vernon Shazier. Folks, thank you so much for listening to the African American Scene. God bless and be safe, and I will see you next Wednesday right here for the African American Scene.
The African American Scene, presented each week, every Wednesday night in the 6 o'clock hour by Howard Insurance in Port St. Lucie. Archives of this show are on YouTube. Look for WPSL TV on YouTube and find Rudy Howard's African American Scene anytime you wish to view it. There's a bunch of shows up there for you. Be sure to tune in again next Wednesday night when he'll be back with more. This is WPSL Port St. Lucie, the talk of the Treasure Coast